What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here for this week's edition of Stompbox Saturday, and on the stomping block today is the Napoleon Boost from Oddfellow FX. And I want to say a big thanks to John and his crew at Oddfellow for sending this little guy my way. It's a very diminutive and slightly aggressive boost pedal, much like its namesake, and we're going to take a look at just exactly what this little guy can do today. Now, I don't know if it's kind of a reinterpretation of the boost circuit that is in the Caveman drive, but to my ears it sounds really good. Dirt simple to use with its one gigantic knob, which makes it really handy if you want to change the settings on the fly with your big size 12 foot like I might end up doing. And it sounds really great. You heard it in front of a dirty orange amp, and we're going to take a look at some of the other tones and how else we can use a boost pedal right now. A good boost pedal should do one thing only, and do it very well. And that's exactly what the Napoleon does. It boosts your signal. At its lowest setting, you get just a bypass buffer. And at turning it up all the way, you get 10 times the original guitar signal going into your amp. So let's just check out exactly what the range of the boost is, and you can hear that for yourself. This is my clean guitar tone on the middle position. Sounds pretty good. Turning on the Napoleon at its lowest setting, we should get nothing. Sounds pretty much exactly the same. So let's just turn it up to about 10 o'clock on the dial and let's see what we get. So we've got a little bit of grit going on in that example right there. I've got high output humbuckers in my Les Paul. It's being boosted by the Napoleon going into the front end of the amplifier. So it's giving us just a little bit of grit, but essentially all it is just my guitar sound going harder into the front end. Turning it up even more, I bet you we might get a lot more volume and probably a little bit more grit. I'm certainly starting to hear that grit, and just for giggles, why don't we turn it up all the way? I actually really like the way that sounds all the way up. So as you can see, there's a huge range to the boost knob. Now at the top of the video you heard me playing through a slightly crunchy amplifier, which sounded something like this. Which I like a lot. It's a great low, medium gain kind of sound that cleans up pretty well when you turn down the guitar's volume knob. Now, I want to get something a little heavier, something a little harder, and I'm going to kick on the Napoleon. I got the knob just at 12 o'clock, and this is what that boost gives us to a crunchy sound. Ups the saturation, maybe just a hair more of a volume boost, but all it is just more of my guitar going into my amplifier. No added EQ, no added tonal coloration, just guitar and more of it, and I really like the way that it sounds. Another way that I like to use boost pedals is by putting them in front of a distortion pedal. If I'm playing through an amplifier that's kind of like a lifeless solid state amp, or something big, loud, and clean like a twin that's really hard to get to distort. One of my favorite pedals for that application, of course, is the full tone OCD, which we've taken a look at before, but here's a bit of an example of a tone that I might dial up for that kind of situation. Now that's great for rhythm playing and maybe a couple different lead parts that don't quite need to sing and sustain as much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the knob on the Napoleon to about 11 o'clock on the dial, kick it on, and that's going to get me into that singing lead territory that I want to get to. Now, I've mentioned already that Napoleon doesn't add any sort of tonal coloration to your sound, which is great, but some of us like a boost that can maybe shape the EQ a little bit of our signal. And the cool thing is, if you take off the back plate on the back of the pedal, unscrew the 4 screws, don't worry, it's pretty easy to do. There's a little switch inside the pedal, which I'll show you a shot of that right now, and right next to that you see the word deep. That's going to add a little bit of low-end thump to your sound, which could come in really handy if you're playing through a guitar or an amplifier that's a little on the bright side. So let's check out that. We're going to turn on the pedal first without the deep switch on, and then we're going to turn the switch to deep and then see how that sounds. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like the way that that kind of adds a little bit of thump, but I really like the deep switch engaged on a dirty sound. So let's check that out. Well guys, there you have it, your look at the new Napoleon Boost from Oddfellow FX. It's a tough little cuss of a boost pedal that I think you guys should seriously take a look at. I really like the way it sounds, and this might just find a permanent home on my pedal board very soon. Big thanks to John and his crew for sending it my way, and until next time guys, this is Sean Pierce Johnson. Happy stomping. Cheers.